In this lesson, we're going to learn how to create the tire for our car. Alright, so let's go ahead and just use a cylinder to create the tire. We're going to drag this out to the edge of that. Okay, get about the right size there, and then really quickly you'll want to align that to your rim. Do the X, Y, and Z and hit OK. And then what you'll do is simply pull that back. And we want that outside edge to just touch the edge of the rim there, so like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my Modify panel. Let's take the height down, and we'll go to our front view, and we'll continue to reduce that height until we reach the outside edge of that tire there. Now there is a little bit of a bulge there, and I'm going to get that, but I'm going to cut it off just before that begins to turn at the bottom edge. So something like this will be just fine. Let's also get rid of the cap segments on this. Leave it just like that, and then I'm also going to take the amount of sides down to about 8. Okay, so something like this should be just fine. We may want to take the radius up just a little bit higher. Let's go to 16. Let's do 15. So that way, whenever it smooths out, it should fit that there. Okay. All right. So now let's convert it to editable poly, and I'm going to go to polygon mode. I'm going to select this front polygon and this back one, and we're going to inset this, and I want to inset it until it touches the rim. Okay, just like that. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll delete those polygons, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to use a Turbo Smooth modifier on this. And as we bring that up, you'll see that that rounds out, starting to create the look of that tire. But it's not quite exactly what we would want in this. Let me turn on my Isoline display. I'm going to add some edges to kind of help control the overall shape of this. So if we go to Edge mode, I'm going to go into Edit, Swift Loop. I'm going to add a loop right here in the middle, but I'm going to hold down Shift when I do that. And notice what it does. It pops that edge out, and it's trying to average the curve between this point and this point. Let's do the same thing here. Hold Shift, and that'll kind of create the bulge that you'll see in a tire ever so slightly. Okay, so we'll go to our Turbo Smooth, and in our front view you can see that now that's matching that bulge there. We may have to scale this up just a little bit more. So grab our scale tool, scale that in the X and Y, and there we go. So now that came out perfectly there. It might be a good idea to go ahead and take the borders on the inside of this and scale those in toward one another. So if you hold down Shift and try to scale those, well, the borders won't scale, sorry. Let's scale it. Let's do the selection center like that. Hold Shift and then scale that toward one another. And that should create a little bit of a lip there. And that'll kind of help with the shape of the tire, and it'll actually make it look like it's folding into that rim. We're also going to kind of scale it in the X direction a little bit more. Let me center this to the object. So pivot, center object. Let's scale that out. So now it looks like it's really pinching on that. Go to your left view, just take a look at that, make sure that that's matching still. Now the only problem that we have here is that we can see the other side of the tire. Usually a tire rim will go all the way through. Okay, even though you know, it's this fancy looking shape here, there's still something in there that's actually attaching that to the other side of the tire. And so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll select our rim, and we're going to go to edge mode, or excuse me, border mode, and we're going to select this outside border here. Okay, let's hold down Shift with our move tool, and let's bring this out all the way out to the edge of our tire. Okay, like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift with my scale tool and scale that in, and that'll create this little rim like this. And then we're going to grab our move tool again and then scale that back in. So hold shift, or not scale, but move it back in, and you'll bring that back. Okay. Now it's not going to be closed in or anything like that, but now what you see is whenever you look down inside that tire, you have a metal rim in there. Okay, and that can really be helpful. A couple of edges that you'll want to add in here to just kind of control the loops, the softness of those edges. You want to add one there, and then probably one on the back side here. Hit F3 so you can kind of see where that's going. Yeah, that's really hard to see. I'm sorry. I'm just add it on the outside edge there. Great. Okay, so we really don't need to do anything else beyond that. If you want to add some more detail in there, you're more than welcome to, but we really don't need it. It's just a precautionary thing to keep it from rendering the other side. Now we're also going to have our belly pan in there, so if we unhide all, okay, you can see that that's going to cover that up. We won't be able to see the back side of that wheel. It looks like we need to bring that wheel well in just a little bit further on the belly pan. So let's go to our left view. Let's hit F3, and what I want to do is I want to take all of these polygons right here and all of these right here, deselect these on the bottom, and I want to push that in just a little bit further. And I'm just trying to think about how I'm going to push that without affecting the topology too much. Take that edge. Okay. And let's pull that back. So that should give us plenty more room for that wheel to sit in there. All right, great. There we go. All right, so now let's turn that off, show end result. You can see that that gives us plenty of room for that. All right, so great. Now we're looking good. Let's change the name of this. Let's call it tire. Let's give it a black color and apply our gray material. There we go. So now we have our tire. Now there's a couple more elements that we need to create. The next element is going to be the brake disc. So we need to add that in there, and then it's also going to have the brake caliper, which is going to fit right over the top of that. If we hide the belly pan, you can take a look at your left view, and you can see the brake caliper here. Now it's a very basic shape. We're not going to get into creating something super highly detailed. This is just one of those elements that, if it's there, it's kind of nice, and it can add just a little bit more dynamic to the look of your car. Without it, it looks a little funny. And so it also helps to kind of cover up this hole that's there, okay, and just looking down at the wheel well. So we'll get started with creating the brake rotor, okay, and then also the brake caliper. So I'll see you in the next lesson.